Want to welcome everybody here to Life Application class. We are honored to have some guest speakers this morning, and I'm really glad that they are here. We have Paul and Jeannie Willoughby, and they're going to be speaking from their heart and their testimony, kind of whatever the Lord leads them to do. They have been a great blessing to our body here this week with Greg and Maria, and so we wanted to give them an opportunity to speak life into us and to share what the Father's done. So let's just all welcome them and be ready to receive. Amen?
Amen. Thank you. Well, when Pastor Richard asked us to share, I felt really special that he would ask us to do that. So I'm really thankful to him. I thought we'd start out with this. Dad mentions this. There's around 35, 36 things, blessings that come when misogyny is removed from a person's life. And it doesn't just affect the man, it affects the woman, it affects the family. In fact, it affects everything in the life. So for us, it affected finances, it affected my work, our calling. Jeannie designed a product that is now painted to help children in school with mathematics. The children, the order in the home. It basically everything came into an alignment. And for me, I was positioned correctly with God, Father God, and with my wife and the children. And so things came into order, and that had a tremendous effect. Before being free of misogyny, I was being out of order. Jeannie was having to make decisions she shouldn't have had to make. She had to lead in ways she shouldn't have had to, with spiritual things especially. I'm a king. I'm a strong king, priest, and Jeannie is a strong priest, king, meaning all of us have a king and a priestly attributes in our life. And so I'm a strong king, so I like to get things done. And I can be very hard and insensitive. And that was a major prayer for me for some years. I could see I couldn't feel for Jeannie. I didn't have it in me to feel for her, to have compassion for her, or to go through something she was going through. I had nothing to relate to, and that was really difficult. So I'd be asking the Lord, give me a sensitivity for Jeannie. Help me to feel for her. I couldn't. And you know what? None of my prayers were heard. The Word of God says that if you dishonor the weaker vessel, the man's prayers are cut off. And that's a frightening, shocking truth. And I mean, we've been very blessed throughout our married life, but I have to say it was due to prayers from my wife, not from my prayer. My pride would say that's because of me. You know, we're in the place we are today because of me. Financially, I'm pretty able to make money and always being faithful with money. So I could say I did that, but it wasn't. We had blessing on us at that time, mainly a lot because of Jeannie.
You know, for years, I saw giftings in him because he worked as a helicopter engineer.
Yeah.
And so he did this job for years. And when he would come home and he would tell me things, and I would think, wow, he has giftings to lead. Like if he was put in a manager position, he could do a lot because of the ideas he was getting. But he was never in that position. And so this went on for years. And so I knew he wasn't fulfilling all that he could do, but we didn't know that this was stopping it. Even his parents would say, well, you could be a good waiter.
Especially my
so like, and we were wondering what's blocking it. So
I grew up in a home. I never saw affection between my parents. There was a lot of joking, a lot of putting down, mainly from my dad towards my mum. Outwardly in front of us, around a dinner table, it was very uncomfortable. So the level of love, the level of relationship we had was on a level of joke, make fun of things, talk about another person. If ever I shared my heart, like a few years ago, I was still struggling in areas, and I would share my heart with my parents, especially my dad, and he could not hear me. He would direct the conversation to Jeannie. He would talk about something else. It's like he didn't hear me. And probably he didn't. He couldn't meet me where I was going. And I was just trying to share something in my heart, something that was important to me. So when I saw that, I thought, well, as a child, I'm sure that was the case. Whenever something important to me was shared, it was not heard. So our level of relationship was based on you joke, I joke, you make fun of something, we laugh. That was it. There's a lot of uncleanness. My dad would even take us as a family to, they like to go to France, to nudist beaches. So we were exposed to nudity in a very unclean way. That messed up a whole lot of things. Yeah, there was a lot of uncleanness in our home. I hated being at home. The atmosphere was a cold, tense atmosphere. My dad would have spontaneous outrage on me if I made a mistake or couldn't answer something. I remember times of just I'm holding my head down and suddenly a slap comes across my face, and I'm shocked. I'm like, I haven't done anything. What have I done? So there was a horrible atmosphere at home. So growing up, problems with relationships, a misunderstanding of a male and female relationship. So now we get married, and I am actually very thankful what the Lord showed me before we married. He showed me there was stuff in my blood that was extremely powerful and had extreme hate for weakness, for women. And up until then, I hadn't seen it. But when I saw what I saw, I knew this is real and this is powerful. And I've shared this before here, but basically we were brand new in love and happy, excited. I mean, it was a dream. And we're walking in, I think, Wales at the time. And Jeannie, she bends down to do up her shoelace. And I have an extremely clear picture, vision, whatever. It's very real. I'm taking a rock and I hit her over the head and watch blood pour out onto the floor. And it came so suddenly, I was shocked. It's not even a thought you build up yourself, or we're in love, we're excited, and that happens. And I was scared. I definitely didn't share it with Jeannie. But what I did do, and this is something I've done, I would say every time I've had something that I cannot handle, I would go to my dad and my mom. We'd go together and I'd share it. And so with that situation, I shared it with Dad, and he told me what it was. It was misogyny. It was a spirit. And that gave me some kind of thankfulness. It wasn't me. I knew it wasn't me, but it was in me. And so now I was on a path, a war, a battle to destroy this thing. And I had to make so many choices. 15 years of choices. And about 4 years ago, it got to a point, it was angry. It was extremely angry. I could feel its rage in my blood. I was hearing voices in my blood. I was seeing things from my bloodline that I had never thought about. Not watched a movie about those things. I was experiencing it in my body. And it was angry. And I had fits of outrage. I would at times, Jeannie, she was extremely patient, extremely giving, and wanting to help me. But I didn't, that thing in me did not want help. It wanted to kill her. I would strangle her. I'd put her up against the wall. I'd push her away. I'd say, leave me alone. This thing was, I knew it was going to hurt. And I could control with niceness, I could, but it had to come out. And it did, many times.
I mean, most of the time, I can understand why he would say, leave me alone, go in his room and shut the door. And now, after all these years, I realize he was stopping that thing from literally wanting to kill me. So, it looks, okay, I'm going out of your presence, but why would you leave that presence of that person? Because something inside of you wants to hurt that other person.
Yeah, there was a great sense of danger. I would, misogyny has an outward strength. It looks strong, you're able, you can take care of everything. And I have a lot of giftings. I lived alone, I made a lot of money. I had my first house, I was about 20 years old. I had 3 cars, I earned nearly £1,000 a week. I had a lot for my life. I was healthy, strong, but actually deep inside, I had a lot of fear. And so now we have children, and when I was alone with our children, this fear, I would fear something happening. I wouldn't be doing anything that's dangerous. I wouldn't be, driving 100 miles an hour down the road, or so. I wasn't doing anything, but there was this sense of fear, something is going to happen, and I couldn't take care of it. I had no power, and that's a very important thing. This thing makes you so weak. It's in the spirit, you have no power. Your prayer, taking authority over a little demon, you have no power. So we had chaos in our home. The children, their attitudes, their disrespect for Jeannie, their words to their mum. It was horrible, but I was powerless. So I was outwardly looking wonderful, and no one in our body knew. No one in the church knew this. They were shocked when I started sharing this stuff. And I've been, from the beginning of my life as a Christian, I would confess in front of everybody. I did it many times in front of the church. I would confess things. So when I confess this now, and basically the confession was, we were at the end of our marriage. And I never give up things. I will fight through things. I will not give up. But this, I thought, it might be we need to divorce or have a time apart. And for me, that was a horrible, horrible thought. But I had no ability to deal with it. It came to a point I couldn't look at Jeannie in the eyes. I mean, it was so strong. I couldn't hear her. She would try to help or advise or say, I could not hear her voice. It irritated me. So this thing, it was angry. So about 4 years ago, I came to a point, and there was manifestations. I would throw a dinner plate against the refrigerator. We still have the dent there to date as a reminder. I mean, this thing was angry, but what I did, I had a determination. If you will not go, and I said this, if you will not go, I will fight you till I die. So it was in me, if you're not leaving, then I'm going to have to deal with you every time. And I did.
And I just want to say something about that. When my dad has always said, you have to learn to hate it. So that could take 1,000 times, thousands upon thousands, where you're choosing to humble and you don't feel anything. So the first step is just to say, I'm sorry. Some people haven't said sorry for years. So that in itself can be really hard. Then it goes to another level where you're saying it more. Then it goes into another level where it's becoming more real. Then it's not being religious. So as you break down, as it's being broke down, that power is getting less and less and less. But that's what we need. It's not like a quick prayer. Let me have prayer for misogyny. No, it's letting the Lord work in us.
It's not just saying sorry, because we got into that mode. I'm sorry. But it was much deeper than that. And there's a feeling sorry. That you're feeling sorry what you did. You're seeing the result of what your choice made. You're feeling for the other person and how that hurt them. So I could see it got to a pattern. It's easy to say sorry. And then there's a way to say sorry. Forgive me. You forgive me. And if you don't forgive me, you're in trouble. You know, there's this, you forgive me. Can you forgive me? Rather than a brokenness inside, like, I'm so sorry. Like when I had to, what the Lord did with me, when it got to this point, I had a dream. And in this dream, one of our children died. I think they drowned. And it was very real. So we have 4 children. And one of them died, I think in the bathtub or something. And I woke up and I was scared. I knew it had something to do with the spirit, misogyny. And I rang Dad and told him, and he had no answer. And I go to work, and that day in work, the Lord said to me, you need to wash your wife's feet, and you need to wash the feet of your children. And I knew it was God's voice, so I was definitely going to do that.
Sorry, I just thought about something. When Paul said, he called Dad and the dad had no answer, it's really important that you learn to seek the Lord for yourself also. So you say, I'm submitting this to my leader, but now I need to seek the Lord. Lord, show me your light. Why did this happen? And a lot of times when Dad doesn't have an answer, he will seek the Lord, and then we are seeking the Lord. Okay, why did this happen?
And God will know if you really want the truth.
Yeah.
And that's down to the individual. Do you really want the truth? So God showed me, you need to wash the feet of your wife and your children. So we had this thing on Wednesday evenings as a family. We spent that time. We dedicate the time. We be a family. We do something as a family. And this was on the Monday. So on the Wednesday, I told the family we're going to have a foot washing. At that point, Jeannie did not want to have a foot washing.
We had just had a major outburst with the kids. And every time we had an outburst with the kids, I'm telling you, for years, it's like he was powerless. I was searching for an idea. I was getting angry. We needed an answer. So we had a huge outbreak with the kids. So it was, at that time, it's like feet washing. Now, that's what it happened. And I was like, so we both, you get to a point in life in your marriage where these problems are coming and you can't stop them. And so you freak out, you go into anger, and that's what it happened.
So there's a few times I've really heard the Lord say something. And this was a time I knew He had said, you need to wash your wife's feet and the feet of your children. I didn't know anything else. So I made a family get together. We were in what is now our bedroom, but at that point was the children's, the 2 oldest boys' bedroom. And I went and got the stuff to wash feet. And literally I walked in the room with the stuff. I made myself look at Jeannie. And instantly I broke. and I was crying, and God started to lead us. And so I began to wash Jeannie's feet. Actually, I stood first in front of everyone and I said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for how I've treated you. And I'm sorry. I've been a horrible example to you children as a father and as a husband to your mum. And I'm crying and I'm washing Jeannie's feet, and she was hard. She was really hard. I mean, understandably, the way I treated her, she was understandably hard, and I was to blame. And she started to break, and she started to cry. And then I went to each child, and I asked them to forgive me, and I washed their feet. And we have 3 boys and 1 girl. And our oldest son, Samuel, he looks at his sister, and he starts to repent to her, and he then washes her feet. And instantly the room fills with the presence of God. We had tension, frustration. Dad shared, I think yesterday, we'd be excited to see each other. I come home from work, I missed her, we'd call in the day, she'd be home, I come home, thoughts, instantly. Why is she looking at me like that? Why is he not happy to be home? Instantly. Literally, you open the doors, she's there instantly. And that was it. It was over. We were powerless. The atmosphere in our home had frustration. We call this thing where you jab each other, you say a comment. It's just a little comment, something about the person, but it hurts them.
You spend a long time as a wife, preparing a meal. Okay, and his mom is an expert cook. She cooks for many big events, and I struggle with cooking. So I spend a long time cooking a meal, and then you make one comment about that meal, and you've just got to fight right there. And even if I wasn't outspoken, I was struggling with that thought. I should have made it better. Well, I can't make it better. Well, I can't. And so even though you're not verbally fighting on the outside, the tension in your home, that little thing about a stupid meal, just a meal. There's no love in your kitchen. There's no love in your meal time. And those things were like real big. And I have to say, the presence of the Lord makes those things so small. And it doesn't matter, about those things anymore. It doesn't matter if you can cook or if you can't cook. And I would just say the presence of the Lord, He filled our room that day. And He is the only one that can soften our hearts. And He did it. And I would say for years, you need the presence. Well, that's why I need the presence. Because you can even try to wash feet. But until He comes in and His presence fills that room and makes your heart go down, there's no hope of change.
In that season, there was no understanding of what Jeannie would go through every day, being at home, taking care of the home, the children, being alone with the children, and then me coming home, and I think I've had a hard day, she's had all that, I think I need a rest, well, she needs a rest, but I couldn't even see that.
Yeah, because
it's like, well, you've had a nice day at home.
Yeah.
I've been at work.
And both had a hard day. He was so defiled from his work all the time of what men talk about constantly. He was so defiled. He'd come home and I just want a break. And then I was home with the kids. And we had outbursts happen and rebellion happen. And I was crying out, give me a break. Or just hear me. And so if you don't deny yourself, there's a war. Every day there's a war. If you don't deny self.
And it might not have been right, but Jeannie did. Sometimes I'd get home, she'd pick up her bag, run out the house, and drive somewhere and be alone. Yeah. And she was right. I should have allowed her just freely to do that. Now I could do that. Back then it was like, oh great, now you've left me with the whole home now. Well, she'd been dealing with that the whole day.
Yeah. And years later, I really had to make it up back to the kids because they were full of fear. When their mom left, it's like, they didn't feel safe with Dad. So when Mom's leaving now, it's like we really traumatized them, one of our little girls, she just got healed. We were wondering, actually Dad pointed out, she can't show her feelings. And when she gets mad, she goes in her room and shuts the door. I always wonder why. Why is she going in her room and shutting her door? Well, if you're a healed person, you actually can say your feelings and you can show it. You can do it. But she couldn't do it. And then we just prayed and just gave it to the Lord. And then one day, she just spilled it out in the car. She said, well, when you guys were fighting, I would just run in my room. And you would tell me, go in my room, because we didn't want her to see the fight. I said, go to your room.
You can, in the time of a situation, you could say a lot of things, do a lot of things, and you don't even consider the effects here. So I'm sure I would have definitely said, everyone go to your room. That's the thing. Misogyny wants to take control of the situation. So order everyone to your room. Let's deal with this problem. It was not helping. And so when she said that, I can see totally we would have said, go to your room with an anger. And now they're in the room, shut door, they're hearing us fighting or whatever. Mummy leaves, the fear comes in. And so that's traumatic, a little child. Yeah, and then there's no explanation after, hey, we just had a fight and nothing. They're left standing. So she had a problem showing her emotions, especially crying, outwardly. And so she'd go to a room, shut the door and hide away. We'd go in there and say, what's going on? She'd tell us.
No, she probably in the beginning, but after years, she just shut that door to us. So she wouldn't tell us.
Yeah, in the beginning.
She wouldn't want to tell us. And basically, you don't go after a child and force them to tell you something. You want them to openly want them to share with you.
And she couldn't. Actually, she couldn't communicate. She wasn't practiced to be able to communicate what she was really going through.
But the Lord actually healed it in moments, just with humility. Just coming in truth and saying, we're sorry we did that to you. And can we just pray with you? And she just gladly opened up. And I really believe the Lord just healed her emotions. Just like that.
We've had to do a lot of times of sorry. As men, we're the forerunner. And probably we're the first one to ever even consider dealing with this stuff. It's just normal. That's just our family. But we are dealing with a kingdom here. And this is thousands of years. This isn't just a few centuries. This is a long time. So it's a war. You're in a war. And it wasn't just towards Jeannie. It was the children. And like I said before, it affected everything in our life in a negative way. Direction in life, or choices, or answers to prayer, or finances. The Lord had to allow those things to be secondary because there was something else that needed to happen. Once this thing happened, that was primary. Misogyny, dealing with that, order in our home, me leading in a godly way, my open attitude towards Jeannie, towards the children's mother, in the presence of them. I mean, you see them now, we're hugging, we're kissing, they come over, they want to be a part of that, let's have a family hug. It's so different. The before and the after is incredible. I mean, what we have now, when this all happened, I was in a real time of need. I had had an injury with my shoulder. I didn't know about it. Corona had come into Germany, and I was left without work, waiting for a scan on my shoulder. I waited a few months, and when the scan came back, it showed I had the ligament had torn from my bone, and the muscle had pulled the ligament into my shoulder, and so I had a dull pain, numbing in my arm.
Yeah, can I say something? Paul hated to be without work. He hated it. He grew up like, well, first of all, it's horrible for a man if he doesn't have work or if he can't be a provider. And so he hated it. So that year when that happened, it was like, oh no, we're all all stuck home as a family. Can't run away. There's no work. There's a shoulder problem, and you're all stuck together. But actually, that was exactly what the Lord used.
We needed that.
We needed it. So the things that you think you need, you actually don't need. Like I was thinking now, we can fix our house. Like I would say, can we buy this? No. Can you fix this? Can you please fix this? Can you please fix this? This needs fixed. Please, our toilet needs fixed. And you know, the man goes away and he's at work all day. Well, who's at the broken toilet all day for hours? The wife. And so
It's in so many
so
areas.
it was like, you know, horrible. But now, like our house is in order. And now I see, okay, once order comes in the spirit, you will actually manifest in the physically. So things getting done in the house, be able to change things in the house. And after that I see, okay, if you put the spiritual things first, other things just naturally come. Whatever you need, just it says seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added to you. They'll just come in your life. That house, that new house, the things that need fixed in your home will just be fixed in your home when you seek the kingdom.
That was the best year. All the change happened. We started to decorate the home. We have 3 levels of our home, and the upper level there was no door on the room, so there was no privacy. I mean, now I can't believe we did that, but we did. And for Jeannie, that was really uncomfortable that the room was exposed. We had a lot of guests that lived there too. And so instantly we switched rooms. The room that we prayed in that with foot washing is now our bedroom. She has a door. She has a place she can be alone. She's made herself an office desk and where she can do her stuff she needs to do. Yeah, let's go over 10:19. Does someone have the book, The Disguised Murderer, with them? I prefer reading from a book if possible, but I have it on my phone. But yeah, I'll keep it. Dad has mentioned it's 39. I think it's actually 36. There's 36 things. I was looking over them this morning. You know, when these came out, I'm not sure how the Lord was leading Dad, but when he read them, I can actually say, I have them. We live them, we experience them, and it's not hard.
And I can say it's true. It's really important for the wife to say it's true. And I can definitely say we have them.
No. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So these are things that happen once you're free of misogyny. Perfect love now fills the mind and the emotions. My emotions were very damaged. Crying was in the very beginning was I couldn't feel. So to show emotion with crying, no, you're strong. You're gonna do this. You're gonna fight through. I didn't have it.
He couldn't share his feelings with me. He said, "What's wrong? What happened? Just tell me. Tell me what happened. What happened in your day?" And he could not share anything.
Yeah, I was totally blocked. That's not now. Once free of misogyny, one of the first things I did, I knew we were in great need. I was out of work. I couldn't even go back into that work field. So I'm basically an engineer. I learned as an aircraft technician on military helicopters. In Germany, I went into building heavy parts for ships, and over time I couldn't go in, and so I was classed as unable to work in that field. Well, now that whole life is over. That was kind of scary, but I knew the Lord had something else. I knew that a long time before, and this was a way. But we needed to pray, and I would go to Jeannie and I would share my fears. I would share my concerns. We need help here, and we would pray. It was incredible. We would get answers. We would get leading, one thing after the other, and it was so easy. There was no struggle. I loved it. I remember just in bed. In bed, I would not like Jeannie being near me. Unless we're having sex, I don't want to. I would like my side of the bed, her side of the bed. Don't touch me. After that, it's like we like to be real close. Just times of holding each other's hand, or just holding each other, letting her lie on me, or just sharing. It's an amazing time, and
just holding hands is like really important, Sometimes it's just holding hands, or just touching his foot.
Yeah.
Just that is you really appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, the second one, discernment in a way higher than ever before.
I was just going to say, when he would pray before, he would immediately struggle with the words. Well, what would I do? So I would say, okay, I'll just take over. And I would start praying. And I always wondered, why did he struggle with the words? He didn't know how to pray. He just, like even if our child was sick, he would say, help, Lord, help them, heal them for whatever they did. And I was like, what's going on? But after that, he would pray for our child. You would feel it change like that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of times that our children have gone through something, and so now I have great compassion. I can really feel with them. So now I'm praying with them. I'm with them. That's something I've had incredible experiences. Dad shared about spending time with the child, even if it's just half an hour. I take the children out one-on-one. We just be together. I took Sam out a few days ago just to play basketball. He loves it. I mean, it does something. And I've had times I'm with a child, one of them, and I'm feeling my spirit touching their spirit. And there's something happening. It's something really simple. You're not doing anything. You may be doing a jigsaw puzzle. That's not the important thing. That time, just being with them, something is happening, and it's incredible.
And our children, how it really hurt them before. He had really misused like the rod and everything. And God, I can say in truth, God has healed all that in the children. They hug him so freely, so lovingly. They tell him their thoughts. So I know all that's healed.
Yeah. There's things we do that happen you can't change. You just can't. And you can cry about it. You can ask forgiveness 1,000 times, but it's happened. But God is faithful. He is so faithful. And he would even, and the word says this, he would even wipe the memory of those things. And sometimes it's very hard for us to share how it was, like some of the things you share now. I don't remember. I literally don't remember. Not because I don't want to. They've been removed. And he's a restorer. So God will bring to the now how it should be, and he will blot the rest out. And that's what we're standing for. We are blotting out the history in our bloodline. And we're seeing it. We see it. We see the fruit of our children. It's not normal. It would not be normal from my past generations to do what I do with my children. I take them all to school every day. I pray for them every day on the way to the school. That's one of my favorite times of the day, just taking them to school. And that empowers them for their day.
And you know what our son says? Our son says, "Sorry, Daddy, I didn't get to kiss you before I left. I didn't get to hug you before. I was too fast." I mean, they really enjoy just giving that to them.
Okay, I don't think we're going to get through 35. So get on number 2, discernment. This was incredible to me. I would want to be spiritual. I would be giving my life. I'd be sowing. I'd be denying myself. I serve Dad willingly. I'd be faithful in a little when no one's looking. I'd do all that stuff, but I didn't have discernment, and that was it was horrible. My spirit was not alive to pick up things that were happening. So for me, it was just all natural, all outward stuff. That's why when we're having a fight, I try and get order in the home, thinking that's going to help. It didn't help. So my discernment, it was incredible, and the growth, and I don't know. That's when, in that season, was when Dad took position number 1, and he wanted me to be number 2. And I remember him when he said that. I was kind of shocked, like, because before I knew I couldn't. I couldn't do that. I had nothing. There was an opportunity. I remember a few years before that to help lead when Dad wasn't there. I didn't want to. I didn't have it in me. So I wasn't seeking that. And when he said that, though, it was like it was right, and the timing was right. And then the fruit from how we were doing things and the choices we were making, my discernment of situations or people or how we should be doing something, it was totally different. Okay, 3, seeing other people the way God sees them. This was blocked before. I could not feel, I could not have compassion, I couldn't sense what they're going through. It wasn't there. I couldn't stir it up. I couldn't do something. It was not there. It was blocked.
It wasn't just blocked with me. What was really interesting is that he couldn't get along with other guys.
Yeah.
So they were all kind of a little bit scared of him. And I knew he had, like, not, in his life, he didn't have, real good many friends. He grew up with not many friends. But the moment this left, there's all these guys that wanted to be with him. It was just incredible.
Yeah. She noticed that. I didn't
noticed
notice
it.
it.
I said, oh my goodness, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when he says, okay, we have a job to do. I mean, he can get the team together. He can get a group of guys to come just by him calling them. Whereas before, I watched them all, like, he would joke about them, or he would say an unsensitive comment about them, and they would just go back. And before, now it's like discernment, it's sensitivity, the feel for the men. It was incredible.
Yeah, that's important, because probably I would have joked or done something that actually for them would have pushed them away.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was doing it, but that's how I was taught. You know, that you want a relationship, what you joke about. You make a joke. I used to be very sarcastic. In fact, when I did my apprenticeship, I was converted at that point in my apprenticeship. So I was known as a very funny person, very sarcastic. I had a lot of people laughing in my class. It was known. And then when I met the Lord, it changed. And I remember them asking, what has happened that you're not doing that no more? And I said, well, now I'm a Christian. I met the Lord. They totally had respect for it, because they really liked me. So I could then easily share with them what had happened. They didn't like to necessarily be with me no more, because I wasn't that guy no more. But it was a definite change. They knew something had happened.
I just want to share a practical example. When you say, I love you to somebody, or when you say, I really appreciate you did that really good, and you're no joking, and you say it really serious in your heart, that affects that person so deeply. So, yeah, that's what we mean. Like, you can say it with a sarcastic laugh, and that person will feel nothing. But when you say it from the depth of your heart, and now I can say, in my heart, I can say, honey, you did that job really well. And he would say for years to me, he would say, he was longing for affirmation. So he was longing for me to say, I just want to hear I did a good job. Just want to hear I did a good job. And I remember my dad for years, he would say, the wife really needs to uphold her husband in his weaknesses. And I couldn't do it because I had judged. And I just wrote down 3 sentences from actually my dad's book, The Secret to Staying in Love. It says, judgments leave a stony, hard feeling inside of me toward the person that I judged. Now their good looks bad, their innocence looks guilty, and their love looks suspicious. This is real serious because you can make a judgment with one thought. And what I would say to him, which actually hurt him real, real deeply, that I had to really repent of, I would say, because I knew his dad, I said, you're acting just like your dad. And you think that's going to help the person. It's the worst thing because my words were putting death in him and probably creating his dad in him, which he didn't want to be his dad. But you grow up and that's all you see, and that's all that's put inside of you. You're going to be that person, especially if you make judgments and everything. So then I started renouncing him. I said, you will not be like his dad. And I repented him for saying that. I said, you are not your dad.
Those are the words that hurt me the most. Whenever she would say, you're just like your dad, I mean, that killed me. That was like, that hurt so much. It was like, that was the person I don't want to be. And you're saying that's who I'm like. That was really hard.
And, but the thing is, that was a judgment. I had made a judgment. I'm seeing misogyny, and so you're misogynist. And I was seeing it, and I was speaking it. And I put that death inside of him. And so, but then the Lord would say, to say other things. So I would start to practice to say, I have a sensitive husband. I never saw a sensitive husband, ever. But it was like, I have a sense, I was speaking it out. I have a sensitive husband. Thank you, Lord. I bless him. I bless him. You can do that when you get the judgments out.
Because of time, how does this work? We're out of time. We can keep going?
Go to 5 till then.
Okay.
I'm done now.
Okay. I just want to finish with this one thing. We did this once, and this was an exercise. I can't remember how you said it there, but basically, you need to ask your wife, how is it?
So, is it a game?
No, it's, how you feel. Do you feel special when you're with me? So, number 4, it says the wife feels very special when she is with her husband. Okay, now that's a nice idea, but it could be really hard and humbling to go to your wife and say, honey, do you feel special when you're with me? Now I know the answer now, and I know she does, but there was a point I could not bring that question up. I knew the answer. She didn't.
The reason why I didn't is because you got to be real careful. As a wife, the demons will tell you, he does this for you. He makes money for you. He did this good on the outside. He did that. In church, he's holding your hand. But the question is, how do you feel? Do you feel special with him? And so, when I really searched, it's like, no, I did not feel special with him.
Okay, maybe we should finish that then.
Sorry, but he just reminded me of the last one thing is that there was a game, and we would practice it, and it tests something, and it's like showing honor to one another. And so you let that person talk for a couple minutes, 3 minutes, and he talks and shares something important that's really important to him. And I then listen to him really attentively. Don't say anything, just listen. and then you switch it, then he, right?
Then you either switch or the same person you know do it again, and you share something again, something really important, and the other one doesn't listen.
They look at their watch, they
They turn
yawn,
away, they just ignore you.
and they
It's just a game.
put up a newspaper, just whatever. But through this game, you could start to see what happens. You see, honor is real. Honor is practical. You can, like he would look at his phone every time I talked to him, and I immediately felt not special, not important, not honored. So this game is showing you need to how you honor someone with your eyes, with
It's
your
very
words.
powerful.
Yeah,
It's a really,
very powerful.
it's just a game. If you are feeling
Yeah.
this is hell, and then think, well, how many times has that happened to us, where you've been sharing something really on your heart, and they just totally ignored it. It didn't mean nothing to them. It's like, with that thing dying. Yeah, that's a really special game.
Some people, when they even doing just this game, immediately feelings of anger are like stirring up. And this is how much abuse that we have all, this is what happens just by not honoring one another. So.
Okay, thank you.